How's it going, ladies and gents? I am Dave B. I work at Schumacher Chevrolet of Livingston, and today we have a really cool video. I got to kind of rush this one because the customer that just bought this brand new 2024 Chevrolet Trax is going to be here in about a half hour to pick it up. I just happened to have a 2020 Trax on the lot, which was a lease return, and I'm really happy I had that one here because we're going to compare how great a job General Motors did with this new Trax. It's absolutely amazing. I took some notes. I was actually blown away myself. So to start off, the new Trax looks phenomenal. If we look at them side by side, you can see the new Trax on the left here, the 2024, has a much lower roof line. It's also about 2 inches wider than the previous Trax, and it's about 11 inches longer. So I lined these up bumper to bumper in the front here. It's about as close as I can get them. If we go to the back, you'll see how much longer that other Trax actually is. Now, because it's 11 inches longer, you're picking up 3 inches of more legroom in the second row. You're also picking up 6 more cubic feet of cargo space. So it's definitely a much larger vehicle, yet still in a compact form. From this side here, you'll actually kind of get to see the roof line a little bit, and the difference there, you can see that gray one in the background just peeking up over the top of this white one. Now, obviously, in my opinion, and I think most people would agree, this new Trax looks a lot cooler. It's a lot more stylish, you know, compared to its predecessor. Now, what we're going to do is compare these two models, because I was really impressed with this new Trax as far as the styling and the options in the interior. I'm also very impressed with the price point and how General Motors was able to keep the price less on the new one compared to this 2020, which is 4 years older. So let's start off with this 2020. This is a front-wheel drive LT model. It does have the driver confidence package that gave you rear park assist, rear cross traffic alert, and the side blind zone alert. It also had LT convenience, which gives you the keyless open, keyless start. It gives you some chrome accents on the door handles, and it gives you the cloth leatherette combination interior. It also gives you the leather wrap steering wheel on the inside. And, you know, realistically, talking about this vehicle and what it has compared to the one next to it, really the only one main feature that this has that the LT 2024 doesn't have is the power driver's seat. The only way to get the power seat in the new 2024 Trax is in the active model. So when you compare these two models side by side, pretty much everything that you have in this 2020 Trax is in the 2024, you know, with the exception of the power seat. And this one actually has rear park sensors where the new 2024 does not. They both have cross traffic alert. 2020 here, you'll look, has 16-inch aluminum wheels, whereas when we go on to the 2024, you have a 17-inch aluminum wheel with optional 18-inch and up to 19-inch depending on the package. The next big thing we're going to compare is the powertrain of these two Trax models. What's the outgoing engine powertrain? What's the incoming one? That's a big concern. The new one does have a 3-cylinder, but let's go over the numbers and really see how they compare. So I'll pop the hood on the 2020 here, put our prop rod in, and take a look at the 1.4 liter turbo 4-cylinder engine. Now, this engine puts out 138 horsepower, 148 pound-feet of torque, and it is linked up with a 6-speed automatic transmission. Personally, I like the 6-speed automatic transmission rather than like a CVT or something like that. When we go to the 2024 Chevrolet Trax, same thing. You're getting a 6-speed automatic transmission, but you're getting a 1.2 liter turbo 3-cylinder engine. Now, it's a smaller engine. However, it puts out 137 horsepower. That's only one less horsepower than the 2020 Trax, and the 2024 is actually putting out more torque. It's putting out 162 pound-feet of torque, where again, the 2020 was putting up 148. So you're actually getting 14 more pound-feet of torque. And also, what should be mentioned is a lighter vehicle. This new Trax right here, as it sits, its curb weight is 3,011 pounds. And I had to look it up. The original invoice of this 2020 Trax, this car sits as it is right now at 3,062 pounds. So the new 2024 Trax, when we compare these two, is about 51 pounds lighter than its predecessor. Before we hop into the 2024, let's just take a look at the interior of the 2020. You know, very basic as far as style, right? Like we talked in my previous video about the interior on the new 2020 Ford and how it's plastic materials, but there's a lot of different materials and different things being used to give it a lot of contrast. You know, here it looks a little bland. It looks a little boring. You know, there is some patterns to the seat. These do have like a leatherette on the outside with cloth section in the middle. Big difference because again, this is a narrower vehicle. The new one is about 2 inches wider, so this just has that armrest on the driver's side. So passenger side, no armrest on here. You'd have to use the door. You also have a standard handbrake, no electronic park brake like you'll see in the 2024. You know, standard shift knob, standard manual climate. I believe this is a 7-inch radio. Now it does have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. You have to hardwire for it. In the new model, you will have wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, so you have some, you know, better features there. And if you look at your instrument cluster here, typical analog system, little small screen with the driver information center, which will give you like your trip odometers and fuel ranges and stuff like that. So, you know, it was basic, it was utilitarian in the sense in that it served a purpose, and it was a great car, but the new one is that much better. In the back seat here, you'll notice that I have a lot less room than I have in the 2024. I just sat in the front seat. I adjusted that to where I was comfortable. I'm 6'5", I'm a tall guy. And as you can see back here, there is not a lot of space. So that 3 inches of extra leg room that you're gonna find in the 2024 is definitely gonna be nice for your rear seat passengers. And then I always like to mention the way these seats have to fold down in this model. I'm just unbuckle these belts. First thing you have to do is you have to find a little loop here and lift up the seat cushion. And once you do that, you can drop this down. You also have to drop the headrest. See if I could do this one-handed here. And then when you do it, you'll notice it's not going to go down flat until you move this seat more forward. So you can drop this down, then you can move this seat back to where you want it to be so you're comfortable. A nightmare. The new one, super easy. All you're going to do is you're going to pull the lever, drop the seat straight down. In the back here for cargo space, again, we have 6 more cubic feet of cargo space in the new one. So you can see, you know, obviously it's a smaller car. You do have a spare tire in here as well, just like you have in the new one. But again, as we look at this 2020, what really was the same model right up to 2023, you know, it's basic transportation. We sold a number of them. Great car, you know, very reliable. I think the big difference we're going to see with this new one is people are really going to fall in love with the styling of it. It just looks that much nicer. All right, the moment you were waiting for, let's take a look at the interior of this new 2024 Chevrolet Trax LT. Absolutely beautifully executed. You know, again, it's plasticky type materials, but with the different materials and the contrasting textures on those materials, they did a fantastic job. Seats still have like a leatherette cloth combination. And I failed to mention actually in this model, so let's talk about this, right? In 2024, what are we getting that the Trax next to me didn't have? And they're both LT models. Now, I made a list. This car has safety assist. That's the extra safety packages like lane keep assist, forward collision alert, emergency braking, things like that. This vehicle has wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. It has the beautiful 11-inch diagonal display screen for your radio and your infotainment, your 8-inch screen in the center here for your driver information. There is also a nice upgrade to the climate control system, and that is automatic. So you have automatic setting, you set it for whatever temperature you like, it'll keep the vehicle at that temperature. You'll notice you have heated driver and passenger seats. You also have a heated steering wheel. These are all features that you didn't have in this LT Trax next to us here. And I'm gonna point out why all this is important at the end of this video. On the exterior of the vehicle, we do have the 17-inch wheels, we have the LED headlights, we have active noise cancellation in this vehicle, and probably one of the best features that I think people are really gonna like, it has adaptive cruise control. You just saw that message probably barely turned off as I recorded. If you hit your cancel button, you can cycle between active or regular cruise. So the vehicle basically has both. You hit and press and hold for regular, press and hold again, and then it'll bring you back to adaptive. You know, adaptive cruise is something that people look for in vehicles these days. This car has it. The last one did not. One thing I want to mention inside before we go back outside and close out this video, there's a way to change the settings on this. Somebody asked me in the comments if you can change the way this display looks. Now it's always digital, but if you press and hold this button here, this little wheel for a few seconds and then let go, it's going to bring up different gauges. So you have gauge 1, 2, and 3. So we were just on 1. We can go to 2, which is going to look like this. It kind of looks like a big turbo, which is pretty cool. If you press and hold again, we can go down to gauge 3, and that gives us sort of like a three-dimensional type ring. It's probably very hard to see with the glare, if you can even see it at all. So you do have a couple different styles you can choose, and again, you're going to press and hold this little wheel for a couple of seconds and then let it go, and once you do, it'll bring up that message. You could also put what gauges you want to see on the screen through that button as well. I'm going to put an interior video at the end of this one, so if you want a tour of a 2024 Trax RS interior, you could watch that next. I kind of go through these screens in greater detail. Now, we just spent the last few minutes kind of going over these vehicles and how much better this 2024 is compared to the previous model 2020. Now, here's where GM really hit it out of the park. The original MSRP of this 2020 Chevrolet Trax front-wheel drive in front of us was $25,140. And the MSRP of this 2024 Trax LT, with all the extra features we've been talking about, $24,680. So this vehicle, this Trax, is 4 years newer than the one next to it, and it's $510 less. How is it that in every video I have math in, I always mess up the math? It's actually $460 less. For some reason, I don't know why I wrote 510. So it's actually $460 less. General Motors, Chevrolet, you guys hit this one out of the park. Personally, on behalf of all salespeople, listen, thank you. Thank you to the engineers, the design teams, the factory employees who put these vehicles together. We promise you, we are gonna sell a ton of these Chevrolet Traxes.